Welcome everyone to our 4th annual welcome event for new and international families. My name is Danit Ehrlich, and I'm the Family and Community VP at Lake Washington PTSA Council. Being new at school in the area and maybe even in the country is a challenge. Being new in a virtual school and social distancing is beyond challenging, and we want you to know that you are not alone. Since we cannot welcome you in person, we created a video with kids reaching out to you in their native language. We'll show you a beautiful video in a second. In the past 3 years, we did the event in person, but now in the virtual world, because of COVID, we have to do it virtually. And because of that, we divided the event to 2 parts. The first part, which is today, focuses on social, emotional, and community support for students and families. The second part, which will be next Wednesday, September 23rd, focuses on academic in Lake Washington School District. We start today with social emotional support because in order for kids to be successful academically, their other needs must be met. And managing emotions, setting positive goals, and engaging in health relationship, and especially during this time of transition, is very important. As parent, you want to support your kids through this challenging time, and we are here to help you achieve it. I would like to invite Lake Washington School District Superintendent John Holman to welcome you and to share information that will help you understand and navigate Lake Washington school system.
Thank you so much, Danit, and thank you to the whole PTSA for supporting this effort and collaborating with the district to ensure that our new and international family welcome event is successful and a vibrant part of the experience for our new families coming into Lake Washington. And so first I want to start today by talking a little bit about our district, what we are grounded in, what we are about as a district, and that truly is about our mission, which is our fundamental purpose as a school district, which is truly to support each and every one of our students towards that milestone of graduation. When we think about our core function, our core work as a district, it's truly to help and support each and every one of our students as they work towards that milestone, knowing that each and every student is going to need something possibly just a little bit different for them in order to be successful. But it's not just about our students graduating, it's about our students graduating being future ready. And when we say future ready, it means that they are prepared for college, prepared for the global workplace, and prepared for personal success. And for us, it's not about making decisions for students about whether they go to college or what their next step is, but we want to make sure that they have the choice, that they've had the necessary experiences through their time in Lake Washington School District, so that after they graduate, they can make a decision about, do they want to go to a 2-year or 4-year college or university? Do they want to go to a trade school, into the military? And we know we have some students that will want to opt in to that workplace environment. And so preparing our students for the global workplace, knowing that once students end up in a job placement, they're going to be interacting with people from all across the globe, people from different cultures, different races, different ethnicities, and we want them to be prepared for that, having those communication, collaboration, and key skills to help them be successful. And we also want our students to understand, what does it mean for them individually to experience personal success? What are they passionate about? What provides meaning for them as an individual? That is really what we're about as a school district. But it's also about our overall commitment to equity, ensuring that we understand the factors that have historically marginalized or limited the abilities of our students to access their full array of educational opportunities and experiences in the district, and really paying attention to that so that we can lift every student up as we work towards those goals of future readiness, college readiness, and being prepared for their future. And so as a school district, we are continuing to think about, what does it take to make a more equitable system where students feel safe, they feel included, they feel welcomed into our schools, and that they can show up and be themselves. We have this rich array of families from all across the world that attend schools here in Lake Washington, and we want to capitalize on that, because that creates better people, better humans, better citizens in this country, and as students are prepared to live in a truly global environment. We have a strategic plan in this district called Elevate, and this strategic plan really does highlight a number of the efforts for us as a school district to think about, how do we continue to elevate those around us and ourselves really to greatness. And when we think about elevating everyone experiencing education or connection or engagement with Lake Washington, it truly makes our overall community a wonderful place. And I want to just talk briefly about a few pieces of our strategic plan. We still have stated priorities in our strategic plan about success, well-being of adults and students, engagement, excellence, being innovative in the strategies and ways that we approach our work, and ensuring equity is part of our overall work and environment. We also have values that we claim and really use as we think about our work. We have a value to focus on students, focus on learning, connection, and results. And we truly believe that if we stay true to our values and implement our priorities, that our overall work will be better for students. We have a number of academic or goal areas within our strategic plan that really help guide some of our work. And that first is that academic success. Really, that core of a school district is ensuring that our academic programs are rigorous, responsive, beneficial for all of our students, regardless of their background and regardless of where they are today. It's always about providing students with that opportunity for ongoing growth. It's also about community engagement. We have such a wonderful community that that we serve here in Lake Washington, engaging with that community, establishing volunteer opportunities when appropriate, understanding how do we gain access to information and support so that our families feel connected to their child's learning. And to do that, we need to hire excellent staff, our third goal area that I'm talking about. And hiring excellent staff means that we hire the best and the brightest, the individuals that align with our priorities and our values, focused on students, focused on equity, ensuring that our school district provides supports for each and every one of our students. And then that effective use of resources. When you think about us as a public organization, really the funds that we receive as a school district truly are from the community. And so we take that seriously, and we want to use those in the most effective manner possible to do what is right for our students. And then I put in the center of this slide, well-being. We know that the well-being of our students is critically important. Being able to address that through social emotional learning, being thoughtful about the programs and supports that are in place for students that are struggling, and really expressing our values through building community, building the abilities for students to establish friendships, connections, peer relationships as they work through our system. For additional information about our strategic plan, you can go to our school district website, lwsd.org, select the About Us tab, and then select the strategic plan. I also want to talk a little bit about how our district is organized and a little bit of information about us as a school district. As of last October 1, which is our last official student count, we had just over 31,000 students attending school in Lake Washington. And that by itself is just a number, so I want to put some context around that for you. We're a relatively large school district. We cover 76 square miles on the east side of Lake Washington. We have 56 school sites here in the district. We serve 3 distinct cities, the full cities of both Kirkland and Redmond, and about half of the city of Sammamish. But we also have schools in unincorporated King County, and we also have families that have addresses in both Bellevue and Woodinville. And what's interesting about Lake Washington is we are actually the second largest school district in the overall state of Washington, and we're only second to the Seattle Public Schools. We've been on an interesting journey in terms of our student enrollment over the last 10 or 12 years. And you can see on this chart over the last 10 years, the rapid growth we have experienced. Just a handful of years ago, we were the 6th largest school district in the state of Washington. And you can see just in a couple of years with that landing at that 2nd largest in the state. And I bring that up because it's important to note, I think there's some reasons why we are growing as a school district. Redmond, Kirkland, Sammamish, these are amazing places to live. They're great places for our technology industry, for many of our industries. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to send your children to school. These are all reasons why people come from all across this country and really all across the globe to be a part of this community, and our schools are part of that. We're proud to have great schools, and we are so proud to have people from all across the world coming to our community. And so a little bit about how we're configured as a district. We have 33 elementary schools, 13 middle schools, and 9 high schools. Within those numbers are a number of choice programs where families would apply to attend those. Our choice schools typically have a theme or a program focus. And we know that our home high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools that support a region of students do an amazing job. And so we have about 29 elementary neighborhood schools, 9 middle schools, and 4 comprehensive high schools. It's important to note that students really do progress from primary to secondary through what we call a feeder pattern. And so all students are assigned a feeder pattern, and so in elementary, a middle school, and in high school, and they transition through those typically. There's 4 distinct regions in our school district: East Lake, Juanita, Lake Washington, and Redmond. East Lake really is in that Sammamish area. Juanita is kind of northern part of Kirkland. Lake Washington is that southern and central part of the Kirkland area, and Redmond is that city of Redmond. We have 4 individuals that directly support the leadership and management of our schools, and we call them our directors of secondary and elementary education. I have their names listed here because really their primary job is to support the overall functioning of the school, collaborating with the school principals, the school administration. They're there to support collaboration with families and staff and students, and they're there as a resource to our schools. You may see them once we return back to school, there with the principal, seeing students in classrooms, seeing teachers teach. They truly are a part of those school communities. Most students in Lake Washington attend their neighborhood school, that school that they're assigned to in that feeder pattern, and about 10% of the students in Lake Washington do choose to attend a choice school or program. For more information about those choice schools and programs, you can go to our website as well. And like I said before, all students are assigned to their neighborhood school, but we also know that there's times where a family may say, we want to attend a different neighborhood school. In Lake Washington, we call that a variance process. And so that information is also on our website. It typically isn't the normal course because we also have very full schools because of our rapid growth over time. But if that's an option that you're considering, there's a list of schools that can accept additional students, but we also let families know which schools are closed. I've talked about our website quite a bit. It's important to know that so much of the information that would be a resource to you as a family is truly located on our website. Our website does have translation tools embedded within it. That's one way to help understand some of the programs and services, supports, our policies that really guide our district. Access to your school websites can be launched through our homepage, but it's truly one of the ways that we collect information and provide as a hub for our families. You also will be subscribed to a newsletter called Connections. It's a newsletter we send out twice a month to our families, just providing updates around programs and services in different parts and pieces of our district, knowing that our families, busy lives, lots going on with their children. This is just a quick way for you to see some of the information in a snapshot, knowing that you can dig into any of those pieces of information. And our website, I just put a screenshot up here of it so that you can see it. These images on the front really do change as we want to direct messaging around specific items. You can see this screenshot was about a Microsoft Teams Classroom Basics event that we had the first one today, and that was through a partnership with Microsoft that was hosted. But that's the type of information that we want anyone coming to our webpage to be able to see that on the landing page. And you can see here at the very top of the page, there's resources for students and families, community, information about our board of directors and board meetings, employment, and then specific information for staff. And then a little bit further down, that About Us tab that I referenced earlier, where you can get a lot of information about our overall district and supports. And with that, I just want to say thank you once again. Thank you for spending time with us in this space, in this venue, building an understanding of our school district and some of the supports that are here for you. I can't imagine what it is like transitioning to a new school district right now for you and your family. I hope that you are able to reach out and make connections with those in your community, your local PTSAs. Know that this is a community here to support one another. We want you to feel connected. We want you to feel welcomed. And we want your child to feel welcome, safe, and included in their school experience, whether that is the majority are students learning remotely right now, or whether your child is learning in person. And so with that, I will hand it back to Denise. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And indeed, it's a wonderful area to live in and a wonderful district. And I hope that in time you'll feel part of this wonderful community. And we're here to help you, as John said. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm volunteering at the PTSA Council as a FACE VP, and I want to invite Brandy Comstock, our PTSA Council President, to explain what is PTSA, how can they help you, and how can you be a part of this wonderful organization.
Hi. Hello. Thank you, Denise. I'm just wanting to double check that the slides are running, everybody. Do you see the slides, Denise? I'm sorry, folks. Okay, good. So my name is Brandy Comstock. As Denise said, I am the president of the Lake Washington PTSA Council. I am a parent of 2 students in the school district. And on behalf of our PTAs and our PTSAs, I would like to welcome all of you to the Lake Washington School District, welcome a lot of you to Washington State, and more of you to the United States. I'm here today to talk a little bit about what PTA is, how it benefits your children, how it can benefit you, how it benefits your community. I'm going to give a little bit of a brief PTA overview, and then we'll talk about how PTA can support you and how you can in turn support PTA. So a lot of times people ask us, what is the difference between a PTA and a PTSA? They're the same thing. If your school's a PTA, that's fine. Your PTA leaders have just opted to put student into the description or into your name. If you're a PTA, they just opted to leave the S out. Totally fine. So in the United States, there is a lot of research, and I'm sure in other countries, that children thrive when schools and families and communities all work together to support our children. And this partnership between the school and the family and the community is what PTSA is all about. We are all working together to help all of our children achieve their potential. Just like Dr. Holman said, we want all of your children to feel safe and welcome and included. But we also want you as families to feel safe and welcome and included. You can see on here that all these PTAs have their own brand and style. They all look a little bit different, but all of us have the same mission, the same goal, to advocate for every child. We want our children and your children to be successful, to have the support that they need to achieve to the best of their ability. We also want to make sure that in addition to being academically successful, that our students are all emotionally and socially cared for and supported, and that all of our families are included and connected and supported with what they need. Regardless of what your needs are, we really want to support you. This welcome event, it says on the slide that we work closely together with the school district to support students, and this welcome event's a great example of that, because we about 4 years ago, the PTSA thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and have a welcome event for parents, and we brought that idea up to the district, and they have just taken it on, and now we are in year 4 of welcoming new families. So we're very excited that we get to work in such close partnership. A little bit about the PTA Universe. PTA was founded over 120 years ago. It's well established. There are PTAs in every single state, and it is a very common component of the American educational system. We have 44 PTAs in our district, and we have the council that supports all of those. So we hope that you'll be able to participate. What is the purpose of PTA? So we are the largest child advocacy organization in the United States. Our programs benefit so many students, and this is a lot of words on this slide to talk about that we want to support and help students and their families. That's the main goal. So how does this translate into what's going on at your school? Like we said before, every PTA has their own mission, their own vision, their own way of doing things, but we all want to do things for our children. Some of you may come from places where parents aren't terribly involved in the schools or aren't expected to be involved in the schools or aren't invited in. In the Lake Washington School District, parents are welcome. So they're welcome from the school and they're welcome from the PTA to join in, to participate, to ask questions, and to be an active part of the educational experience for your children. Enrichment and programming at your school will look different than enrichment and programming at a different school, and that is going to be absolutely different depending on if you have an elementary school student, a middle school student, or a high school student. It's also going to be different depending on what your family needs or what your community needs. Some schools really want to invest in social and emotional learning. Some schools want to very much invest in reading and literacy support. Some want to support more of a STEM education. So your PTA activities are going to reflect the needs of your school. Your PTA works behind the scenes to support everybody. And at your school, you might see things like movie nights, cultural events, international nights. You might have a barbecue. You might have coffees with your principals on a monthly or a twice or every other month basis. You'll definitely have parent education events like this one that will be coming through your school, and you can participate for no charge. So Lake Washington School District provides the things that are needed for our children to be educated. Your PTSA provides more. Many of the programs that we have in our district and across the state don't exist without PTA. If your students would like to participate in Reflections, which is a national art program, that is a PTA program. If your students want to participate in a spelling bee at most schools, that is a PTA program. So it looks different at every level, but we all have the same goal. A lot of our PTAs do social and family events. We host dances, we host movie nights, and then PTA also host educational events. This event is one of those, but also Science Night, STEM Night. STEM, if you might be wondering, is science, technology, engineering, and math. And so some of our schools have those events. And you get to participate with your child. Some of them are for your children to participate alone, especially if you have older students. So I just want you to know that your PTA at every level does amazing things for your students, and we try to do so much for parents and families. And your PTA leaders are really proud of the work that they're doing. As an example of that, I sent out an email asking for photos to include on this slideshow so we could add a little color to it. And within 2 hours, I had 50 photos of different PTA events that PTA leaders across the district wanted to share with you. So please reach out with any questions that you may have to your PTA board. If you have questions about school or how to use the technology, activities that may be at your school, or an activity that you'd like to suggest is at your school, reach out to your PTA. Any questions that they have, your PTAs are going to be very happy to answer your questions, to get information for you, and we love to share information. So please feel free to reach out. We're inviting you in. So what can you do? You can absolutely join the PTSA. There is a typical annual membership fee. For one person, it runs about $12 to $15 in our district. Every PTA sets their own rates. But please be aware, even if you cannot pay, you can still come to the event. Your students can still participate. You're all invited to join. And why is this important? Because our PTAs need donations to run on programs or to run the programs that they have. So if you can donate to PTSA, that would be a huge help. If your PTA doesn't have donations, then there will be fewer programs for you and your children to take advantage of. You won't be able to participate in activities like bingo night, the movie nights, whatever is going on at your school. Even now, with most things being virtual, PTAs are still running programming, still running events that they would love for you and your family to participate in. There is something called Pass the Hat at one of the high schools. They call it Pass the Pouch. And that's just a direct donation that you can give to the PTSA, and they will use it to fund their programs. But sometimes your PTA will do a specific fundraising campaign. For example, on this slide, we have a play structure that the PTA paid for. It's one of those nice to have things at the school. It's not a need to have. And so updated playground equipment is definitely something that our PTA support with your donations. What else can you do? You can volunteer for the PTSA. It's key. Volunteers run every bit of the PTSA from the top to the bottom, at the state PTA level, at the national PTA level, and at your home school. It's all volunteer run. So if you want reflections for your student, we need volunteers to do that. If you want the spelling bee or the robotics, art docents, or sustainability or emergency preparedness for the classrooms, all of those things are PTSA events, and all of those need volunteers to run them, to coordinate them, and to help make sure that we're providing the best experience for our students. And your kids love having you participate. And we know so many things are going to be changed this year in our virtual environment. But what we know won't change is that our PTAs are going to need your help, and that our PTAs very, very much want to continue to support you, your students, your family, and the entire community. So why should you PTA? This is the crux of it. Why is this relevant? We like to say that PTA is both a noun and a verb. A noun in that we are the organization that is doing the work and taking care of the legal responsibilities and requirements of running a nonprofit. It is also a verb in that this is how we are engaging and doing and helping and being and supporting every single day. We know from research, as I said earlier, that parents being involved in volunteering does lead to increased academic performance for your students. But like the last slide, your kids just really like having you involved. At the elementary school, usually a little bit more than at the middle and high school levels, but it's still nice to have parental involvement. And we would very much, as an entire group of PTAs, all 44 of us, would love to have your voice included, especially if you are coming from a culture or a country that is different than the United States typical organization and way of being. We really want to hear from you. We want you to participate, because having those very diverse perspectives is what helps make our PTA so successful, and you can be a part of that success. It's really just, we're all doing this together. So I invite you to join. And lastly, if you want to get started, you can go to your PTSA's website, your school's website. You can contact your board of directors. They're elected. They'll be listed on your school's website. Any of the social media that your school has. If your PTA, when your PTA does have their membership meetings, whether they're virtual or hopefully later on in the year, they'll be in person, please join. We're just really looking forward to supporting you and hearing and learning and just doing all of this work together as parents and families and partners. So that, I hope that you are welcomed, and I will turn it back to Denise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brandy. And I want also to invite Katie Phillips, Lake Washington School Foundation Interim Executive Director, to share about another wonderful organization that we have. And I can hear myself. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. This is the first time I've done this, so I'm just going to assume that everybody can hear me unless somebody lets me know otherwise. My name is Katie Phillips, and I'm the Interim Executive Director of Lake Washington Schools Foundation. We are a third organization, a much smaller organization than the district and the PTSAs, and we work together with the school district and the PTSAs to take care of doing some extra things that there may not be resources for, but there are needs for in the district. First of all, I just want to let you know that it's such an honor to work with the Lake Washington School District. They are a fantastic organization. I think as you've probably already witnessed, very dedicated educators and really talented individuals who all come together to educate and care for your kids. So congratulations, you probably figured it out, and maybe one of the reasons you've decided to come here, that this is a great school district. That being said, in addition to that, there is also a very, as you just heard from Brandy, a very strong and very capable parent community within the PTSAs. I personally have a lot of experience when my kids were younger in the PTSAs, and I would highly encourage you to reach out. It's a great way to meet new people in your community, and it's a great way to share and give back and connect and make your community better. And our role, is also along those same lines. We're like the third leg on a stool when it comes to the school district and the PTSAs. We come and we support and we work together with the two other organizations, and we also bring community resources from businesses and from individuals to enhance academic access for all students and to nurture students' emotional well-being. So like I said, we are a distinctly different organization, but we work very closely with the Lake Washington School District and with the PTSAs and the community. We are celebrating our 15th year this year, so we've been working in the community for 15 years, and we look forward to many more years to come. I wanted to just share that our goals are very much in alignment with the school district. Not surprisingly, we work so closely with them, and we do believe that every student deserves opportunity to achieve their potential. And what we do is we work with the district to identify any set of challenges facing students and then channel the power of community to overcome these challenges. And that can look that can look like a number of different things, but we know that there are always emerging needs out there in the community, and that despite the fact that this is a great school district, a lot of parent support, that there still are times when there are other needs that need to be met, or there are things that can be done that will make this great district even better. Some of the programs that we run we have a Balance in Mind program, which supports youth mental wellness. We have a Links mentoring program that's been going on for a number of years, where we're in a very strong partnership with the district, where we both fund that program. And it's been growing by leaps and bounds, benefiting elementary school kids and pairing them up with mentors from the community, kids who benefit from having an extra caring adult in their lives. We have a Pantry Packs weekend program. It's a program for food insecure students on the weekends. And that's something that we have seen an increased need for as we've been moving into this space of COVID-19. Another program we share with the district, provide to the district, is Find Your Fit. It's a counseling application program. So kids who are in high school and getting ready to apply to colleges, we have a counselor, an expert, Mary Pat O'Neill, who shares her knowledge for free through us with kids in the district to make sure that that parents and students have help navigating that process. And the district provides a lot of resources in that area, and this is a place where we complement that, and we add some extra resources to really make sure that that you all have as much as you need to successfully launch into the college application process. We also have historically and continue to Reach for Success classroom grants. Those are grants that go out to specific schools to address specific needs or specific organization or specific programs that that school might want to bring to their school. We've funded robotics programs. We've funded drama productions. We've funded programs that help kindergartners get an extra boost with literacy and math. So the Reach for Success grants are great because they can really specifically address specific needs in individual schools, and we're really happy to be able to provide that to schools in the district. And we also have another program called Kids Coming Together, where kids can come together, and it's a space for kids who might have struggle making friends to find a safe space to connect and make friends with other kids. So so we're basically we're here, we are constantly listening to the district and to emerging needs in the district. So please, though, that's a quick overview of some of our main programs, but we're constantly, we're listening to the community and to the district, and we're constantly trying to, if we hear that there's a need, what we will do is we'll go to the community, and we know that we have a very generous community who wants to help and who wants all of us, all of the students, to be healthy and rise together. And so we're able to come to the community when we know of a specific need, and we're able to channel those resources and into really meaningful and well thought out partnering types of programs with the district. So how can you help us? Number one way to help us is to donate. We have different fundraisers that run throughout the year. We have a big one coming up in October, and please look for that. That's going to be our All In for Kids campaign that'll be coming out via email. We also have our other big fundraiser for the year in the spring in March, and that's our typically our spring luncheon. This year it's going to be a virtual event like last year. We want to make sure that that we're not putting anybody at any risk, and we found that we can actually connect with more people in that way. So that's one of the silver linings of going virtual, is we can share more, share the spring luncheon with more folks. Some other ways to help with the school's foundation is we have some volunteer activities. You could volunteer to be a Links mentor. We have other programs where there are volunteer activities, and we'll let you know about that on our website. You can participate in our events and our programs. We're here for you. We're here to be helping all of you. And so please check out our website and find out, what programs do we have that could be helping you. We also are always looking for ambassadors for different schools, people that will help us make sure that we know what's happening at every school, and also share with each school community about the work that we're doing in the community. You can learn more about us at our website, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over. Again, I just want to, I know you're learning a lot today, and as you're navigating this new space in this new district, I want to welcome you. If you remember anything, remember our tree logo, and remember that we're located at the Resource Center at the school district Resource Center. And please check out our website, and I just want to wish you all the best, and we're gonna all get through this together, despite the smoke and everything else. We've got this. So please take care and enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with the foundation. I think it's wonderful that we have so many resources and for so many kids in so many areas. So thank you for that. I want to continue, and one of the things that I really love, the sentence is, knowledge is power. knowing how the district supports your kids' social emotional needs, and who you should talk to if you have any concerns about your child is an important step in supporting your child during this challenging time and throughout the year. I would like to invite Matt Gillingham, Associate Superintendent of School and Community Services, and Noah Westberg, Counselor of Social Assignment, to share the information with you.
Hi there. Thank you very much, Danit. I'm Matt Gillingham, Associate Superintendent of Student and Community Services, and I'm joined here tonight with Noah Westerberg, who's our Counselor in Special Assignment. And we're here to share with you the supports that are in place at our schools around students' social, emotional, and behavioral health and well-being. And as Dr. Holman mentioned, this is kind of a center area of focus for us as a district. So we're excited about the supports that are in place, and just are thankful for the PTSA to give us an opportunity to share with you what supports are in place and what you might be able to expect as you're supporting your student this year. You'll probably hear about social emotional learning from your child's teacher or your principal, and so we wanted to start first by talking about what social emotional learning is. And social emotional learning really is about how it's a process by which we develop the skills and the awareness to both kind of navigate our own selves as well as our social conditions. And so when we think about developing social emotional skills, that really is something that we do collectively as a society. But in our schools and in our classrooms, we focus on helping students develop self-awareness, what's going on in their bodies, what's going on with their emotions right now, recognizing how they're feeling, and so that then they can develop the skills to help them manage those experiences, and that they can take control and ownership of their experiences and their feelings. And because we want students to be able to grow up into adults that are, have choice and control, and a big part of that is knowing who you are as an individual and being able to make those determinations for yourselves. Similarly, we want our students to be able to recognize what's going on in social situations and how do you develop relationships with peers. This year in particular, we're really focusing on developing relationships, spending time checking in with students, and even though we can't physically be together, making sure that we're still helping kids navigate healthy relationships remotely. And the fifth part of that is really around responsible decision making. And so as students become aware of themselves and their social situations, have some skills for navigating relationships and managing themselves, that they ultimately are in a position to make their own decisions. So you'll hear this most likely in schools as SEL, but we wanted to give you some context for what social emotional learning is. I'm going to talk a little bit about how this shows up in our schools. And so if you're the parent of a student in elementary school, your students are going to get some very specific lessons in their classroom, and we use a curriculum called Second Step. And this curriculum includes skills for social and academic success, and it also goes into bullying prevention. We want our students to be able to recognize when students aren't being kind to each other and have some skills for how do they respond to those situations in a way that is safe for them and helps stop harmful behaviors. In a remote environment, our student services team has helped provides a number of activities that teachers can use in their classroom that build relationships and help students check in and how they're doing, and continue to build these skills. An important part of that is our schedule this year We actually have check-in and check-outs times with teachers, so that that's an opportunity for us to make sure that students are doing okay. And if they aren't, that they have an opportunity to let an adult know that, and so that we can you know, make sure that we're supporting them and connecting with them, and that they're if they need access to additional care or supports, that we're able to do so. At the middle level, we have a program called Character Strong, and our students in middle school, these are grades 6 through 8, they will have these lessons through their homeroom time. Each school calls their homeroom something a little bit different, but through their homeroom time, this is where we really focus on self-awareness and self-management. At the middle level, there's a lot of relationship building skills, as well as responsible decision making. And so you probably hear some things at home around character dares, where students work on patience, kindness, honesty, respect, selflessness, forgiveness, humility, and commitment. And a key part of this is helping students figure out how to translate that into their environment and their culture and their values. And so those will be some of the discussions that are happening throughout this year if your student is a middle schooler. At the high school, we're really focused and working with our teachers to help them build classroom environments around relationships. And we've been working with researchers at the University of Washington on a program called Establish, Maintain, and Restore, or EMR. And it's really about helping our staff have the skills to help students build positive relationships, focus on ongoing positive interactions. And when there's a negative interaction, when there's a conflict, which there definitely will be at some point in time for everybody, is how do we actually restore or recover from those experiences? So it's not about necessarily avoiding negative interactions. It's how do we repair our relationships or restore our relationships when we have some of those challenges. And this is a big part of helping prepare our high school students for becoming adults once they graduate. So that's a brief overview of the types of lessons or experiences that our students will get in our classrooms this year. I'm going to have Noah share about the role of our school counselors in supporting students, and when and how parents or students might connect with a school counselor.
All right, thank you, Matt. So in addition to the social emotional learning curriculum and practices that are being implemented in our schools, we also have school counselors in each one of our schools. And they really play a key role in supporting the social and emotional development of our students. As you'll see here on this chart, they also play a key role in helping support the academic development of students, and also helping students prepare for any post-secondary opportunities that they wish to pursue. So throughout the next couple slides, I'm just going to go over some of the supports that school counselors may provide, and then also how you guys can reach out to them and get a hold of them. At the bottom of this chart, we have a list of different supports that school counselors offer. So school counselors spend a lot of time meeting and checking in with students one-on-one individually. School counselors also provide group counseling. So at the elementary level, this might look like a friendship group or social skills group. At the secondary level, school counselors might offer groups to help students navigate stress and anxiety. They also might help run academic success groups. School counselors also try to get into classrooms as much as they can to deliver social and emotional learning lessons. They also provide information about different things that are going on. For example, the high school counselors will talk to our 8th grade counselors about transitioning to high school. There will also be lessons about deadlines for applying for financial aid and things like that. And then a key part of the counselor's role is also just partnering with families and school staff and also community agencies. So they're really collaborative They don't work in isolation. They spend a lot of time working with people to support your students. And the last support we have listed is really making sure that we're using culturally responsive practices. We recognize that our students and families come from an array of different cultures, and that's a value. So we really want to work with each family individually just to ensure that we're providing the best support for each and every student. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so as I mentioned in the previous slide, every one of our schools has a school counselor. At the elementary level, we have one school counselor assigned to that school. So that'll be your child's school counselor if you have a child at the elementary level. At the middle and high school levels, we have multiple school counselors, and we divide up their caseloads either by your student's grade level or by we call it alpha. So basically, whatever the first letter of your last name is would determine who your school counselor would be. Counselors are currently available to work with students and families remotely. You may contact them directly through phone or email. That's the best way to make initial contact with them. And while the delivery of services might look a little bit differently in a remote setting, our counselors are still providing similar supports that they would in a physical school building. So this means that students can meet individually with their school counselor virtually, and we use Microsoft Teams to do that. And counselors are also able to meet with parents and families online as well. The best way to find the contact information for your school counselor is to look on the school's website. All of our school websites contain a staff directory, and it lists the email information and usually the phone number of every staff member in the building. And you'll usually find the school counselor one listed under either the office staff or specialists in there. But that's the best way to find contact information for your child's school counselor. So while school counselors at every grade level support the academic, social, emotional, and college and career development of students, the support might look differently depending on what your students' developmental needs are. So in these next few slides, we've broken down what your students' needs might look like at each level. And we've also included some examples of when you might want to contact your child's counselor. So at the elementary level, we're really focusing on helping students develop the knowledge, attitudes, and skills that they need to be successful and confident learners. So some of the developmental needs at this level include building academic self-concept, helping them manage their decision-making skills, help develop communication and social skills. You might want to contact your school counselor if you notice that your child has any social or emotional concerns. You would also contact them if there are any academic concerns. In these grades, students are learning how to identify and manage their emotions. So that would be a common reason why you might want to contact a school counselor at the elementary level. Elementary counselors also work really closely with parents. So if you need any advice or tips on how to best support your child at home, especially as we're in a remote setting right now, I would suggest that you reach out to your child's school counselor and they can help you navigate that. Next slide, please. So in middle school, this is a time when students are undergoing a lot of change. They're growing a lot physically. They're starting to become more curious about the world, and they have an emerging sense of their self-identity. So some of the developmental needs include exploring different interests and activities. Middle school students are, as I mentioned, they're searching for their own identity and kind of trying to figure out who they are. This is also a time when students kind of shift from going to their parents for ideas and affirmation, and they really start to lean on their peers more. So that's completely normal if you see that happening. You might want to contact your middle school counselor, similarly to elementary, if there's any social, emotional, or academic concerns. Middle school counselors also help provide information about community resources, and they can help connect you with them. We also in middle school have activities that students can participate in, such as sports and clubs. So if your family ever needed any support with access to that by paying the fees or getting different materials for those activities, your child's school counselor can help make sure they have what they need to participate. Oh, sorry, Matt. Can you go back, please? So just the final thing I wanted to mention is that middle school is really the bridge between elementary and high school. So middle school counselors do a lot of support with transitions. Some of our students really struggle with adjusting from elementary to middle school. So if this ends up happening, please reach out to your school counselor and they can help work with you to support that. There's also a lot of questions and concerns when we have 8th graders who are about to go into high school. So this would be another great opportunity to work with your counselor to ensure that you get your questions answered. And then finally, high school counselors. So this is like the last stage of our schooling. During this time, students are beginning to figure out what their future might hold for them. So some of the developmental needs for high schoolers include exploring and defining their own independence, self-evaluating strengths, skills, and abilities. They're also heavily influenced by their peers, and this can be positive and negative. So with this comes increased pressures regarding risky behaviors. Just like middle school and elementary counselors, you'd want to contact a school counselor if there's any concerns with academics or social and emotional well-being of your child. But there really are also the go-to people for any questions regarding graduation. High school counselors are experts in knowing what the requirements for graduation are and helping you navigate that process. So if you have any questions about scheduling or credits, you would definitely want to go to the school counselor about that. School counselors also help students prepare for post-secondary options. This ranges from just providing information about the different options that are available, but they can also help navigate different deadlines that are coming up, help them fill out applications, and figure out the processes for that. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Matt.
All right, thank you, Noah. Lastly, we want to talk a little bit about the mental health or behavioral health supports that we have in our schools. And I have 2 data sets here that I want to use to just help frame this conversation. The first, the chart, the column chart to the left there, titled Depressive Feelings. This comes from the 2018 Healthy Youth Survey. This is a survey of all youth in the state of Washington that occurs every 2 years. And that 2 years ago, nearly a quarter of our 8th graders and a third of our high school students reported on that survey that they had experienced feeling sad or hopeless for a couple of weeks during the past year. And sadly, this is not uncommon or atypical. You know, both developmentally, our adolescents experience you know, high highs where they're feeling really wonderful on top of the world, but they can also feel some pretty low lows where they're struggling, and sometimes those experiences go on and they need some support. And so if you know, your child is experiencing signs of depression or anxiety, we have both school counselors as well as behavioral health counselors in place at all of our secondary schools, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So we just want our parents to understand that you know, that kids who are feeling that way, they're not alone. A number of their peers have experienced the same feelings, and that's why we've put supports in place so that they can get access to the help that they need. The second chart there was produced by the Washington State Department of Health, and it specifically relates to the impact on or the anticipated impact on mental health in our community as a result of the pandemic. And you can see that at the state level, they're anticipating that as this pandemic goes on, that it may exacerbate, it may deepen some of those feelings of depression or anxiety for a number of people. And so we've been really mindful about both the unique aspects of being a teenager and being an adolescent, and also thinking about the ways that being in this pandemic, being isolated the way that we are, and how that has an impact on the health and well-being of our kids and our students. So I think it's just really important for us just to know that that these are normal experiences that a lot of students share, and so as we go to look at the health supports that we have in place, we want students to access these supports. That's why we've put them in place. They're there for the students, and so at the middle school, every middle school has a behavioral health support specialist, and this is someone who can provide counseling and support around feelings of depression or anxiety or even thoughts of suicide. As well as also support if students are, starting to experiment with any illegal substances like drugs or alcohol. At our comprehensive high schools, we have full-time social workers from Evergreen Health, and at our choice high schools, we have behavioral health support specialists from Youth Eastside Services. So we actually have experts in supporting adolescent behavioral health at all of our secondary schools, and they work closely with our school counseling staff to ensure that we have supports in place. I'm going to ask Noah to talk a little bit about some of the specific ways that we provide that support, and also how you, as a parent, might encourage your student to connect with these supports, or how you can connect with these supports if you have concerns about your child. Oops, I'm going to previous.
Okay, so on the bottom of this slide, there's an offering of different services that our social workers and behavioral health support specialists provide. And for students, they're able to connect with these specialists through their school counselors. Counselors often refer students to them. Families can also connect up with them as well. I would recommend that you work directly with your child's school counselor, and they can provide contact information for the specialists. In a few weeks, you'll all be receiving some communication directly from the high school social worker or middle school behavioral health support specialist, which will contain some more information about the services that they'll be providing, as well as their contact information. So you'll be able to reach out directly to them after you receive that. There will also be some drop-in hours that they'll be offering online. So this will be through Microsoft Teams. There'll be different windows of time where you can drop in and ask them questions or just check in with them, and you'll be receiving information about the schedules in that communication that will be coming out. And I believe this concludes our portion of the presentation. So I just want to say thanks again for being here with us. Welcome to the district. We're very excited to have you here. And with that, I will hand it back over to Denise.
Thank you very much, Matt and Noah, for all the explanations. And I'm sure and happy that it's recorded. So if it's too much for parents and they want to watch it later on, you're more than welcome to look for the link in Lake Washington School District website or the council website and hear it again and again, as many as you need. So thank you very much for all the information. And now I would like to invite Gloria Henderson, Director of Opportunity, Equity, and Inclusion, to share the district vision and steps toward equity in Lake Washington School District and how equity work will look like for family, for students, and for staff, even in the virtual world. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Denise. I'm going to pull this up. All right. Hello, everyone. And like Denise said, I will be sharing about our equity work in the Lake Washington School District and even some adjustments we're making being in a virtual world. A lot of it is the same, but there's some special care that we are taking in this process. So thank you for being here tonight. So first, I want to talk about a little about our the purpose of equity in Lake Washington School District. It is to ensure the academic success for all students by closing opportunity gaps for students and providing equitable and inclusive working and learning environments for all students, families, staff, and communities. So to do that work, there are certain things that we need to do as a school district, which is that we need to remove the predictability of who will fail and who will succeed based on race, culture, ethnicity, or any other factor. And we also need to interrupt those inequitable practices and look at our own biases and create schools that are inclusive of for everyone, for all of us. And another thing as part of our commitment is to discover and cultivate our unique gifts, talents, and interests that every human being possesses. And that's how our district becomes more inclusive and welcoming. All right. So you may be wondering, what is equity? What is that anyway? And some people think, well, this is America. Isn't everyone equal? Why do we need equity? And so I just want to talk about that for a little bit. And what this graphic perfectly shows this, that equality is something that everyone has, well, it's supposed to have. If you notice in this scene, there's one bike, but not everyone fits on that bike exactly. We have the little one on the right, he's really small and it's hard for him to pedal. We have the woman in the middle, and she's cruising along. That feels like pretty good sized bike. And then we have this tall man. He's slumped over on the bike and it really doesn't work for him. And then we have someone that has a disability, their ability is different and they can't even ride the bike. And so when we think about that, that's when everyone gets the same thing, but it doesn't necessarily work for them. When we think about equity, that's a little bit different. It means that everyone gets what they need, those just right supports and information and access. And so that's part of what I do in my department and what I do across the school district. And I work with others to do this too, is that everyone gets the right size bike, or example, the right size service and support, because we all have different histories. So when I think of our work and how does it engage all of us, this is like a theory of action of what we think of how we can make these big changes. That if we all engage in this work systemically and meaningfully, then our staff and students and communities will benefit from this work. And this will inform how we do our work and elevating our common purpose around having every child be successful and get to choose their own futures or trajectories. And so you don't have to memorize this chart or anything. Like Denise said, this will be recorded. And this is just to show you our path across that many districts have when we think about equity and providing those just right supports and access and opportunities. Typically, we may, as a district a couple of years ago, before I arrived, I've been here for 2 years for the district, and it was around them making a mission and a vision around equity. But what does that look like when we normalize the talking around equity? So that happened when there were explicit conversations about race and other intersectionalities, such as religion and culture and ethnicity, and even social emotional, and our class status or socioeconomic status. And what we want to do is to move into the part where we are operationalizing, where it comes to life in everything we do. Right now, we're seated firmly in the organized area, which is in the middle here, and that's around our stakeholder engagement and developing ourselves and our partnerships with our larger community. And that's what we have been doing. And we're going to move into the operationalized part, which is that we want equity work to be for everyone and it to be inclusive of all the work that we do. So that's just a snapshot, knowing that it's a journey and we're all in this space individually, but we also are moving across this work as a system to ensure that all students have equal opportunity, which takes equity. And so I want to share with you, like if you do some, come to some of our sessions as an equity team that we're going to have for the community, I want to share with you what we use as a school district as well. And I call this a cycle of cultural competency. And in brackets or parentheses, you see the word humility. And that really just means that we're all learning and we're all on a journey. We have our own personal and professional work to do, but we also have to impact our system so our students, our families, and our community partners feel like Lake Washington works for all students, not just some students. So part of this work is increasing our awareness our own personal awareness work around race, religion, culture, ethnicities, all of those intersectionalities, and also knowledge, increasing our knowledge of equity and race in those other areas that I've mentioned. And part of that, it's also to develop our skills so that we have the right time supports and information and ways to do this work that is culturally responsive. And last but not least is action and advocacy, where we see this shift in how we do our work to ensure that all students have opportunities to achieve and succeed. And this it's in a cycle, but that means we enter in different places depending on where we are and what our knowledge base is. So something else that is foundational to us, and I think it's really important for our community to know this as well, is that we're operating out of the idea of around some foundational work around equity. For example, one of the texts that we did a book study on was Courageous Conversations Around Race. And this book is really around grounding ourselves in the historical nature of it and in how race intersects all of our lives, whether we know it or not. So one of the things we talk about in Lake Washington is the compass, and it has 4 parts: believing, thinking, feeling, and acting. And this compass is really for us to think about where do we enter in the conversations, and also our actions. For some of us, we want to go and do some actions to get some things started. And some of us may be in the believing stage. We want to hear more information, and others we ponder a lot. And other people, they have strong feelings about certain things. None of those things are wrong. It's around how can we ground ourselves, know where we are, and also remember that other people start off in different places in this courageous conversation compass. And if we understand that, it's a better way to connect with our students and our families. And we also have a foundation of the 4 agreements, where this work is really hard. So it's important that we stay engaged, experience discomfort, and speak our truth, and also expect and accept non-closure. This equity work has been happening in Lake Washington a couple of years before I arrived, and we're still on this journey. So it's part of our work with our community and our students and our staff and administrators to know that we hold dear to these 4 agreements, that they will lead us in the direction to ensuring that all of our students have equitable opportunities. And so I want to share with you, what does equity leadership, development leadership look like? Because you as families and our community intersect into that work. And so part of our work is looking at our equity team. And we have a district equity team, and we have school or site equity teams. And this is really to provide guidance and leadership and momentum towards social and educational justice in order to reduce factors that lead to disproportionate outcomes. So we have a district equity team that's been going strong. It's in its 4th year. And so there's some information on our website about that if you are interested. And we also have school and site teams. And this year they will be inviting parents from different groups to be a part of this team. And it ranges anywhere from 5 to 20 people. And parents will be invited. You may get an invitation, and then your school leader will talk to you about the process of that, to be a part of that work to ensure that our schools work for our families and students. And part of the work is also to develop student voice and activism, because we want our students to be global citizens and to be engaged across different cultural, racial, economic, and ethnic identities. And I only think about the purpose of why we do this is because we do want equitable working and learning spaces. And so part of our work is to provide professional learning and development for our staff, and also to work through different work groups to provide professional learning that supports everyone, because equity work just doesn't live in my department with my staff, it lives with everyone. And since it lives with everyone, my role, sometimes I'm an advisor, I work as a consultant with people, as facilitator, a co-leader, or leader. And this is also with our families too, that this work lives, and my role varies to be culturally responsive. And just so you know, part of the opportunities that on areas that fall within my department includes AVID, and this is for students that may be first-generation college students or students whose families are newer to the United States. Really, it's around supporting students around what it looks like to be a student, academic information, to be college and career ready. We have that at 7 of our schools to support our students. And we also have translation and interpretation services, which is in partnership with myself and the communications department, to ensure that our families get the information that they need, because knowledge is power, and we have that information, we can support our families even better. And also support McKinney Vento and foster care for our students that are housing are home insecure, to support them to get to school and provide those resources that they need. And we also, under my department's family engagement, So you see some other information coming out. We really want to ensure that our families are engaged, and that is a two-way street. And if you're also interested in being natural leaders and cultural liaisons, we want our families to be part of our schools and to ensure that we're working in partnership. So some of our schools have natural leader programs. And if you are interested in that, please reach out to my team, and our information is on the website. And also community engagement. Our work is to ensure that we are not doing anything to communities, but that we're working with communities to provide those opportunities and access in a world-class education. And so when I think about equity, I talked about what it looks like for families in our community. Equity also is defined and lives within our work as administrators and our staff. So the framework that principals are evaluated under is the AWSP framework, Association of Washington School Principals. And it is grounded in racial literacy, an idea of race, because it says racial leaders actively pursue a deep understanding of their own individual racial identity and continually hone their ability to recognize structural and systemic racism and courageously change the status quo. So you'll be hearing our building leaders and our district leaders mention race, and it's not meant to be divisive, because to make things better in our society, we need to talk about them, and as part of our framework of our accountability. And with our teacher teams and staff, part of that work is around cultural competency, that giving power to diverse points of view. So there is a commitment to excellence, but that cannot be done without a commitment to excellence. So teachers are working to be more equity driven and culturally competent. And so that is interwoven into their work as well. And so I wanted to share a little bit about the data that we have. And I share this data not as a deficit, but from an asset view. So when I mentioned the information around that we all come from, we have our different stories. And I know I'm speaking to our new and international families. I really want to highlight this as a way to show that we are an awesome school district. And we need to even be better at what we do to outreach to our historically marginalized or underserved groups. So when we think about data, sometimes we look at our most resilient populations to say they're resilient and they're making it. And it's true. But at the same time, how can we redesign those systems so that people don't inherently suffer or just not get their needs met? So when I show you this slide, because our ancestral histories do impact our perspectives, beliefs, and experiences in the U.S. and in Lake Washington. So here's just some snapshots. Like you see in the center is George Washington, the first president. And during that time, we have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And it was written that all men are created equal. But that was really centered on white males and not people of color and our indigenous populations. And so as different groups have immigrated or have been brought to this country under duress, they have not all had the same experience. So that's why we have equity work that we want to be grounded within our district. To the left of the picture of George Washington, you see our Japanese Americans that were interned during World War II. And their experience impacts historically around land rights and how they were viewed during that time. And on the right of George Washington, it's a picture of dreamers, some of our Latino, Latinx, or Hispanic families that came over to support their families and also to support our country. And so they have a varied experience. And on the bottom, underneath that, we have John Lewis, who recently passed, and that's a picture of the civil rights movement to try to get equal rights for everyone, not just Black people. And in the center of that, we have a picture of an indigenous young boy, and then when he was taken to a boarding school. And then that was the idea that we are shifting and moving and really pulling away someone's identity and killing that identity to be more Americanized. And then to the left, we have a Black Lives, a rally around protests related to Black lives. I share with you all of these things because history is still alive. And it's part of where we are as a country and where we are as a district. So as we enter into Lake Washington School District and even this country, all experiences aren't the same, which impact why equity work is very important and why it's so important, because those ancestral histories impact housing, how much someone makes, the hierarchy, and how we're seen in society. And so with that data, sorry about that. And with the data that I wanted to share with you, sorry, my screen's clicked over. I'm going to just show you just a quick snapshot, no need to memorize this, but we pulled social emotional learning data just to see where we are as a district and to see what our kids' experiences are. And this is just a snapshot. So we had students do a survey, and this is from the spring 2019, about what their experiences are. And the vast majority of our kids have great experiences in our school district. But what we do see with this data is that some of our populations do not have an experience that is as good as other kids. So our Black African American communities, and even our American Indian and Alaska Native. And we'll see that there are these disparities, even with, especially among those populations and with our Latino Latinx. And this data is just to share, students shared this with us so we can see where we are. So for example, overall, how much you feel like you belong at your school. And that sense of belonging there for different groups, it is wide between our populations. And that means for us, what do we need to do differently as a system? And so I'm going to share with you another one here, and this is from middle school. And this shows some similar questions. How do you feel like you belong? How much do you matter to others at your school? How connected do you feel with adults at your school? And there's a wide range. And in one section, you may notice that Black, African American, and Alaska Native are combined. And that's because of the group size was so small of the students that took the survey. Even combined, as you notice that there are disparate data points. So that means that our students aren't having the same experiences, especially some of our students of color and some from particular backgrounds. And here is some focus data. It says Lake Washington High School, but it's really Lake Washington, our whole district. So sorry about that. We have students that we do focus groups, and we continue to do them so we can see how students feel. And our students have different experiences, whether they identify as Latino, Latinx, or Asian, or white, or Indigenous, or Black. And these are just some quotes about students not feeling seen, or students feel like they are treated just like everyone else. And that's the idea around equity, but equality. But with equity, we know that we have to look at our frames and we see things in a different way because of our experiences. And that's not a bad thing. That's just something that we need to acknowledge, that different isn't bad. Different makes us better. And so again, I show you that data because that data is not separated from the experiences of the diverse populations that we serve in Lake Washington. And to acknowledge that means that that's how we move forward to ensure equitable opportunities. And so when we think about building trust, and what does it look like for those actions? So I bring us back to the LWSD leadership framework, which is really grounded in that idea of school culture and responding to the unique needs of learners. So as a district, we're following the guidelines through our state around our accountability. And even as a teacher team around Criterion 5, around fostering and managing a safe, positive learning environment. And that means that we are safe and inclusive, welcoming everyone, but not just welcoming, but seeing differences, but seeing it as something that makes us even better. And also, when we look at our strategic plan, like Dr. Holman showed you, it does talk about community engagement. It says when we engage students, families, and our community partners, we improve outcomes. And also that came across in our social emotional learning data. When we do take care of our social emotional learning aspects for our students and families, that they end up achieving at higher levels. And so what does it look like for those opportunities? So a lot of our work is done within buildings, which may almost seem invisible, but it does impact your children and our district and you as our families. So with this, some of our work we're doing our PEG, which stands for Pacific Education Group. We have a consultant that works with my team around race and equity work, which includes also intersectionalities related to LGBTQIA, economics and ethnicity. So it's grounded in that we do work to support all of our families, our staff, our admin, and our students. And there are also individual work groups that we work with in my department and across the district. And we have building equity teams, which I mentioned earlier, and I provide learning sessions to support their work. And we also use our staff meetings in those release days on Wednesdays when students aren't in classes the whole time to extend our race and equity work. And there'll also be book studies and affinity spaces so people can connect around affinity and also in cross-cultural spaces. And also our equity work extends and through every area in our district to ensure that equity work is everyone's work. And something that directly connects to this presentation is that our family engagement and community outreach partnerships that will be growing this year, even in a virtual space. We'll do some online focus groups virtually. We'll also do some cross-cultural sessions and even some film screenings and book studies for those that are interested in that, to garner that conversation and to support growth around race, equity, and other areas of difference that are opportunities. And we'll continue to work with students around opportunities around activism so that they are active citizens and within their school district and their community. And so when I think about something else around our digital learning and equity, our district this year did a book study called the Digital Learning Playbook, which was meant to support us in this virtual landscape, knowing that it will hit our students or land on our students and families in different ways. So one of the things we talked about as a staff was that what do we do to build that trust? And part of that is around benevolence, that we want our students to have confidence in us, that we care about their well-being, that we want to be open and being open with the information that we're sharing, but also understand that it's reciprocal, that we need to build that relationship with our families and students. And we also want to be people that our families and students can rely on. When we are reliable to our students and our families, that imbues a sense of confidence that we can meet our families in positive ways. And so what does equity look like for our students? So I talked to you what broadly it looks like as our district. For our students, it looks like things that sometimes aren't tangible, but sometimes they are. For example, the work that we're doing as a district, it will lead to more culturally responsive and diverse representations in curricula, media, and also our learning approaches. And also we have excellent staff, and we're continuing to diversify that excellent staff and administrator populations to ensure that students and families see communities that more reflect their ethnic, racial, and cultural backgrounds. Because when students see those that look like them, it actually can change the feeling and culture of a school. And beyond that, it's really important that students also get to see those that do not look like them and have the same experience, because we're in a global workplace. So that's growingly, increasingly important. And another thing, what our work looks like for students is that we have student groups such as gay straight alliances, diversity action teams, Black student unions, ones that are centered like Padres Unidos around our Latino, Latinx, Hispanic populations, and also our building equity teams. There will be opportunities for some of our older students to participate on those. And also our work overall, we want there to be less disproportionality that almost track some of our students into particular programs like special education or other support services, or even with disciplinary consequences, because all students come with their gifts and their talents. And so what do we do as a school district to ensure that everyone have those equal and equitable opportunities? And so part of this work is family engagement. We're growing our family engagement work throughout our school district, and formally we're going into our second year of some outward facing family engagement, because that is connected to the accountability of our administrators and also to our teachers and also our classified staff, because we understand that there is power in family engagement, and we develop those skills. We are engaging families that have historically been underserved and those that are served well, but that we want to invest in all families to ensure that everyone has voice. And so as part of this work, traditionally, most school districts follow the model that's on the left in the yellow, which that we may give paperwork to go home, we may send a message electronically, and that is really about this exchange. And it's really focused on like the isolation of what happens at school. We are shifting as a district to have equitable partnerships, that it's not about fixing communities, it's about collaborating and co-designing. So with this work, it's around adaptive change to build those stakeholders within our district equity team and across our schools, because we want there to be shared responsibility, and for all families, but especially our non-dominant families and parents, to be viewed as educational leaders in this, because education was meant to support a certain group of students. And what we want to do in Lake Washington is to ensure all students receive what they need. And so part of this work will be that we'll be working with you and doing some outreach through our schools and through the district around working with you as leaders and co-collaborators of this work, because we believe that we want to expand what counts as family engagement. that we also want to highlight how certain systems and schools may marginalize non-dominant families, and we know that's the case. So we are working to dismantle that like other districts across our country. And we also want to understand that even though a lot of us have gone to school to be teachers or principals or directors and superintendents, that we want to equalize power relations to understand if we want responsive schools that foster that community, that we need to do our work there and know that our families come in with gifts and talents and feedback and also with voice. And so another thing that we're going to do is continue and deepen our work to organize with families to lead for equitable school change and increase success. Lake Washington is a highly sought after school district, and it works for a lot of students. We want to make sure the students that it's working for in those families, that they continue to have what they need as we continue to build it up for other students and families that may not have had that experience. And so how we can support your work and how we can support you and your family. And this is just a chart about my growing department. And so part of our work we have in our Title I schools, and those are schools that have a higher portion of students that receive free or reduced lunch. We have family engagement liaisons there to support you if your children go to those schools, or if you need connection to services, we're here for you. And also we have hired 4 regional and cross-district support staff to support our schools in their equity work, their personal journey work, and also their equity teamwork, and also for families to reach out to receive those services. And if and we'll also be working with our students to see what supports they need as student groups and with our families. So they will be coming on board between today and the next couple of weeks, and we'll send out more information about that in some of our district communication, so you can see how they can support you and your students and how they support your schools. And last but not least, on the other side, we have a district level family engagement coordinator, and she helps with our community engagement translation services and professional learning. And Stephanie Jesus Mugley, and she's an equity specialist that works around training in our district, and also on AVID, which I shared with you earlier, and continuing to work with that equity and student voice. And then we have our staff across the top, which are here to support you for the program services. And then myself, again, I'm Gloria Henderson, and thank you for allowing me to beam into your home today and share with you our equity work and how we can support you and your children. And we're really happy and glad that you've chosen Lake Washington to be a part of today, and for the next, hopefully, long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gloria. It was a great presentation. I'm going to share my screen because I'm the last speaker today. Just a second. Okay, in my paying profession, I'm working with people and overcoming personal and parental challenges. Part of my business is helping newcomers who arrived from different countries to understand the American social and cultural nuances and to adjust to the area more easily. And my talk today focuses on relocation challenges and support. So I'm not sure if you're aware of the term culture shock, and you probably, if you just arrived to the area, you don't care about it, but it's something that will come, and usually it comes after a few weeks or a few months. It depends on the person, but I want to be aware of that, because when it comes, you'll know what will happen, and you'll know that it's just a temporary feeling, and it will go away. And also, I'll give you tips what to do, so it will be faster adjustment. You'll have a faster adjustment. So when you arrive to the area, you started to notice that everything is unfamiliar. Even if you come from a different state, things will be somehow different from your state. So it can be the weather, the language, the values, the food, the festivals, the school, social norms, communication. And it's something that you notice, but if you are in the honeymoon stage, for you, everything is new and everything is excited and you're so happy and positive. And everything is green, right? and everything is so different from what you know. And everyone here are so polite, and you still feel close to your previous home. This is a great stage, and it can last a few weeks and few months even. But as many honeymoons, eventually it goes away, the honeymoon stage. And in culture adjustment, what happened is that the anxiety and frustration stage is coming. And in this stage, you may start to feel frustrated because you're trying to understand how things work here, and it's just too hard for you. If English is the second language for you, you start to forget how you said in English things. You're going to the grocery store and you don't know how to look for an ingredient in English. And there are a lot of acronyms, like what is LWSD? Who is L? You don't know about that, and you're feeling very frustrated. And how heavy is 1 pound? How can you measure that? Because you know only kilos. And 30 degrees Fahrenheit, is it too hot or too cold? And suddenly everyone here are too polite, and everything here is so different. So if you think about feelings, so you may start to feel extreme homesickness, loneliness, lack of energy, frustration, withdrawn from others, change in sleep patterns. You overly criticize local customs and or way of doing things here. You have changes in appetite. You may suffer from body pain and aches. You may have anxiety, change of despair, lack of energy, depression, anger, and isolation. It doesn't mean that you're going to experience all that. For some, it's only a few of them. For others, they may feel more. But this downside is coming, or you are in this stage now. It's important to know that because eventually it will go away, and eventually you'll adjust to the area. And before I'll give you the tips, I'll want to explain about the adjustment. And in the adjustment stage, you'll start to feel like you're yourself again. You start to develop a routine for yourself, for your family. You'll start to learn what to expect from more and more situations that you are encounter, and you'll be less negative reaction to local culture. For me, when I drove the first time without GPS, it was like, oh, I know how to get to the place without getting lost. Or if someone, said hello to me and I said hello back, because usually strangers in my country don't just go and say hello to other people. But I understood that this is the custom here. Or you're saying hello to your neighbor. Suddenly the kids, you discovered things that you like to eat. Or even the small things, and you know what? It's the small things. It's the small mistakes and it's the small achievements that will help you overcome it. For example, like writing a check without any mistake. In the acceptance stage that can, after the adjustment, and it can be in a few months or even a year or a few years, when you completely understand that you understand the American culture, but you don't need to understand it completely in order to function here and to thrive. And in the acceptance stage, you'll feel less like a foreigner. You'll get used to your new home. Will be your second home. You'll have your home in your origin country or state, and you'll have a second home here. This is how you feel, that you're going home. You feel more comfortable, more confident, and you're going to see the pros and the cons both in your old home and your new home. So if we're looking at the stages of culture shock, you can see that the honeymoon stage, you're in the top of the emotional stage, and then when you're going to anxiety, as months go past, your feelings will go down, but slowly and slowly you'll adjust to the area and you'll feel like this is your second home. So how can we help you coming from this down of the anxiety toward the adjustment and the acceptance? How can we help you understand that even if you are in the honeymoon stage, to know when you are getting to the anxiety stage, what to do and what will help you to adjust faster? So I created like several tips for you to help you with that. The first one, to be patient, to understand that this is only a temporary stage and it will go away. Just to be patient and be forgiveness for yourself. See that as, where's the adventure in that? What are the things that happen to you and you're very thrilled about? What are the things that happen to you and you're maybe starting to make fun of them? Set small goals. Don't look at that huge goal of getting acclimated to the area, but just try to set small goals and celebrate small achievements. Ask questions. Throughout this day, you heard many people invite you to ask them and to seek advice and to seek help. If you are in a state that you don't know what to do or you need help, just come and ask. Ask us, the PTSA, ask your neighbors, ask your friends, ask your teachers, counselors, and use your sense of humor. I think this is the most important one, and I'll show you what I did for myself. So what I did, I created to myself, like, this is my American social book. When someone is saying to me, how are you? They actually mean hello. They don't want to hear how I'm truly feeling. And I don't need to start saying, oh, today wasn't a good day or today was a good day. Just, this is only a way for them to say hello to you, especially when they're a stranger, like in the grocery store. When someone says, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you, they actually mean hi. When someone is saying, I'll think about it, they're actually saying, I thought about it, and the answer is no. When someone says, let's hang out sometimes, they actually say goodbye, don't expect to hear from me again. When someone is saying it's an interesting idea, they actually mean, I don't like this idea. When they say it's a great idea, but they actually mean it's not a great idea. It's a piece of cake. It actually says, the meaning is it's easy. So I created one more for you to see. When someone says he's my friend, they actually mean I know him. When they say he's my best friend, they actually mean I know him and I enjoy spending time with him. When they say, if you don't know what to say, if someone's saying something to you and you don't know what to say, so I created to myself like several strategies, what to answer and what to do. For example, talk about the weather. That's a great one. Everyone here are talking about the weather. And if you don't understand what they're saying, you can say, I don't have a pen with me. Can you please send me a text or email with the information? Or can you hear me clearly? I cannot hear you clearly. Can you please repeat that again? Or how do you spell it? This is all techniques that will help you a bit get adjusted and just to use your humor. And to remember that it's all culturally related. So from your country, if you think about all the sentences that a stranger that will come to your country will not understand, it's the same. For example, in Australia, when someone invited you to an afternoon tea, they actually mean that they invited you for dinner. Or in a restaurant, when you want, over here you ask for the check. In England, you ask for a bill. Or over here, a field trip is where kids are going with school to a museum or some other activities. And in India, a field trip is actually a picnic. So when you start to understand that everything is actually cultural, and you just need to understand the cultural nuances, it helps a lot to lift all the hard feelings of failure and frustration. And if you don't know, just ask. So more tips. Create a new community for yourself and for your kids. If you feel isolated, it's very important to create your community. I know that it's hard now with the social distancing and the kids are at home and you are at home, but you can still create some kind of community even in this crazy time. For example, if you join Facebook groups, in many PTSAs, many schools, they have a Facebook group. So check on Facebook if you have a Facebook group for your school. And over there, I saw several, even in other groups, parents of middle school, Lake Washington School District, parents of elementary kids, East Side parents, and for example, are several Facebook groups that are in the area. You can write over there that you have kids, what their age, where you're from, and that you're looking for virtual playdates or playdates while keeping social distancing. I saw several of these posts, and I encourage you also to reach out. I encourage you to look for the things that you like to do. For example, if you like gardening, if you like cooking, if you like reading, to look for a book club in the area, to enjoy a gardening book, just to create a community to feel less isolated. If you don't understand what the teacher is saying or asking, send them emails, ask questions, requests, concerns. They'll be happy to answer your questions. Read all the emails that you get from the teacher, from the school, from the district, from the PTSA, because as I know that they're long emails, but they have a lot of information and important information and events and talks and parent education events that they have throughout the year, even Dead and Donuts if you have, but when school will be back, we have a lot of activities afternoon. So if you want to know and not to miss them, it's important to read the emails. If the school or in these emails you read about parents education talk that you want to join, you can just, it's very important to write it on your calendar, because when they start coming, you're just going to miss it and then feel bad that you missed that. And don't feel bad, you know what, just that happens. My daughter, for example, one time I worked, I went to Portland and my husband was also not at home. And I missed an email from the teacher saying that Friday is pajama day and bring a stuffed animal. So she went to school without the PJ and without the stuffed animal. So yes, it's hard, especially when they're in first grade and they're the only one who don't have the PJ with them. But she got it, and this is what I told her, and this is what she was happy with. She got from the teacher to choose which stuffed animal in the class she can sit while watching the movie. So I said sorry to my daughter, and I was so happy for her that she got the stuffed animal that everyone wanted and everyone liked at the class, and that's it. The next time that they had a PJ Friday, I wrote that in my calendar. And even if you're busy and coming to a new country, a new area, it's hard, a new state even, or even from a new city, it's hard, and you have a lot of arrangements, but it's very important to plan fun family time on the weekends for you and for your kids. And also, the most important thing is to take care of yourself. Get enough sleep. exercise, eat healthy, and ask for help if you need it. I'll put that here, and unfortunately, it's almost 6 and we really want to respect your time. So I'll just put that here. But one of the most important things, especially when English is your second language, is, and I want you, one of the keys that I want you to take from here is to be proud of being multilingual. I know that maybe it's hard for you, that in your head you have the whole sentence that you wanted to say, but when it's tried to come out from your mouth, it was like all broken and you felt bad, and maybe because of that you prefer not to speak English or to minimize your interaction with others. I want to encourage you to talk and to be proud of that you know 2 languages. Most Americans that were born here, they don't have this second language. And research shows that when you have a second language, it's better, the kids can get better achievement. They can, for you even, it's amazing. And if you think about, if American will, and I promise you that if every American that you'll ask, for them, you're so brave from moving from a different country, different culture to this culture, not knowing English well and coming here. And for them, your English is great, because for them, if you'll ask them if they study Spanish or French or other languages at school, you'll take them to France or you'll take them to Mexico or to Spain and you'll ask them to navigate and to talk there. Think about that, how they'll feel. So they know that, and I want you to know that. I want you to be proud of yourself, and I want you to talk, even if you don't feel comfortable talking in English. And if you want to improve your English, there are wonderful resources here. Some of them are free, some of them are really not expensive. Even in the virtual world now, we have the KCLS, it's King County Library System, and the library has free English language learner or English second language classes on Zoom, and they're free. They have free talk time, and in Bellevue College and in Kirkland, Hope Link, there are a lot of classes that are free or are not so expensive. So before we end, before we say goodbye, we want to share again a few resources with you. Just a second, sorry for that. Shannon, are you able to help me with that? Because I cannot. Perfect, thank you. I have some technical issues and I'm using my Surface, so it's not so great. So we have, again, the resources that we welcome you to use. One of the things that is very wonderful that the district is doing is they have a Let's Talk button on the website. You can just click on it and you can write whatever you think, whatever challenge you have, and they can help you and they'll answer to your questions. The website here of Lake Washington School District and PTSA Council, the foundation as you heard from Katie, they have a lot wonderful activities for kids, even now in this virtual world. So, and for parents, Balance in Mind has wonderful talks to help parents. So please, don't feel isolated. Don't feel alone. We're here for you. We're here to help you. We're here to talk to you. And I also encourage you to contact the PTSA in your school and to introduce yourself. So don't forget, next Wednesday, September 23rd, we have the second part of Welcome event, and we'll focus over there on academics in Lake Washington School District. Thank you for joining us and good night.